I think I think you will find this to be very instructive, and we do hope that you'll consider taking part in it. And to start off, I just want to explain that Assembly members Levenberg, Shimsky, and I wanted to provide this presentation that's going to be prepared and presented by Pulp, as Pascal just mentioned, because we are all what is known as interveners in the Con Edison rate case. My colleagues and I had talked this over early on and decided we wanted to be part of this rate case because all three of us have heard from our constituents about how their electricity and gas rates have become simply unsustainable. We decided that not only would joining this rate case help our constituents, but it would help the three of us to see the process from the inside, to really get under the hood. And lastly, we felt that if all three of our offices were a part of this, it would have a greater impact. In addition to us, the county executive, the county board of legislators, and a consortium of Westchester municipalities have also joined as interveners in this case. And I think this is the greatest number of elected officials and offices have been part of a rate case for the Public Service Commission. I'd like to now hand it over to our county executive, Ken Jenkins. Ken, are you there?
You may not be on yet, Chris.
Not there yet. May I suggest then that we go to MaryJane and then we'll come back to Ken.
Okay.
MaryJane, go right ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris. Thank you so much to Pulp for doing yet another of these really great seminars. Thank you so much to my colleagues, Chris and Dana, who have been working so hard on this. Thank you to my Chief of Staff, Pascal Jean Giles, who is kind of running this show tonight and who is the official intervener for our office. And thank you to everyone who has come on to learn more and to learn about how they can help. Now, we know we have a huge affordability crisis in New York State. Second, probably just to housing, the biggest affordability issue at this point for most people is utilities. Con Ed rates were always high, historically, like anyone who's lived in the area 30, 40 or more years knows that. But at this point, it has just gotten impossible for most people to live a decent life, in part because the Con Ed rates are so high and these proposed rate increases are, as Chris put it, unsustainable. So now we have to figure out what we are going to do. And while I was thinking about this, military historian that I am, I was thinking that dealing with our utility rates and how to bring them back is very analogous to a major war. We have individual campaigns and we have all different armies that are coming to bear. In order to bring down the prices to real affordable levels, we're going to have to do a lot of different things. Many of them are going to be legislative in the upcoming years of our legislative terms. But the first campaign of the war is going to be to roll back this proposed rate increase. And now in terms of how we staff that and what we do, Pulp will explain what to do. But the one thing I will tell you is we need as many individual ratepayers as possible in the Army, because the PSC needs to hear from all of you as to what the problems are with the rates and how they're affecting your daily lives. That will be your part in this larger campaign to make sure we can make New York more affordable again. So thank you very much to everyone. And is Ken here?
Ken is on. Ken?
Okay, well then I will introduce our county executive, who I've known for a very long time, Ken Jenkins, who will talk about the county's role in all of this. Thank you.
Thank you, MaryJane, Assembly members Shimsky, and certainly our other colleagues on the Zoom this evening, Assembly member Levenberg and Assembly member Chris Burdick, and certainly all of the staff members that helped make this happen. And you're going to hear from our friends from Pope in just a moment. I've heard both Assembly member Burdick and Assembly member Shimsky speak about specifically the process that we're going through right now, and that Pope is going to help lead us through. And as she was saying, I'm not going to say this quite as eloquently as MaryJane was saying it, as far as the Army and utilizing her historic and historian background. But the reality is that your voices do need to be heard. To be able to talk, as Assemblymember Burdick and certainly Assemblymember Levenberg have been talking through this process about this opportunity in person here in Westchester on the 8th and the 9th of July, to be able to make your voices heard. And the more voices that people hear, the commission hears, that they'll be able to make those choices. What Westchester's role in this is that we have an intervenor status for Westchester County. Our intervenor specifically is Elijah Reichler Melnick, who is a former state senator, but he is working with us in our energy and sustainability. He's attorney, and he's able to work with Pope as we're moving forward through this particular process. There's a line between the folks that are intervening and the rest of us. They're working very hard to be able to take the information and hear that and push that forward. But it is not something that goes shared back and forth, basically by the process. That's why it's so important that you all are here this evening to hear the stages and the process from Pope, to be able to understand, and for the members of the commission specifically to understand the impact on the daily lives of the individual ratepayers in this Con Edison region. And we're going to do this repeat in a few months again in the NISEG area, where some of our assembly members, specifically Assemblyman Burdick and Member Levenberg, have a piece of in their representative legislative district. So again, I think that is so important that you all hear tonight, and be able to get this instruction from Pope, and be able to navigate this process. But every voice needs to be heard, and this is the opportunity for us to learn how to do it best. And with that, am I passing to Assemblymember Levenberg? Right. So my good friend, Assemblymember Dana Levenberg, has been a leader in the environmental space and continues to do her work to make sure all of the voices in her district are heard. So with that, let me turn over to Assemblymember Dana Levenberg.
Thank you so much to my good friend, County Executive Ken Jenkins. And I appreciate so much your leadership, as well as that of my colleagues, Assembly members Burdick and Shimsky, and their staffs, who have been critical parts of this intervenor and this rate case perspective, and really have been working directly with Pope, as has again Assemblymember Burdick. So very much appreciate that, and a huge shout out to Lori Wheelock and her team at Pope, who have been invaluable in helping all of us navigate this process. Before I turn it over to the Public Utility Law Project, Pope, I did want to highlight how important it is that you, the public, get involved in this rate case. We've heard from you at listening sessions, via our constituent feedback survey, which we've sent out, all of us have sent out. And each time you call or write, our office is seeking assistance. And something really, really has to be done about the rates and customer service experiences with Con Ed. That's what we're hearing from you. And we need your testimony to help underscore that as we make our cases as interveners. As parties, we're here to represent you and to engage in good faith negotiation with Con Ed to get all of you and us, because we are all ratepayers, a fair deal for your utility bills. I wanted to just highlight some of the reasonable concerns and suggestions that I raised in my testimony. Potential cost savings resulting from recent legislation that was voted on by the Assembly and Senate will hopefully get signed into law to eliminate the 100-foot rule, which, if the governor does sign it, would eliminate the requirement for Con Ed to pay for gas connections for households that are set within 100 feet of a gas line, and potential legislation to eliminate the obligation to serve, if that should come to fruition sometime down the line. What would those cost savings actually look like? We've also raised the executive compensation. We know that the executives at Con Ed are making a lot of money, and we don't exactly understand, again, why some of those salaries come back to be paid by the ratepayers. Also, Con Ed's ability to meet the goals of the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, also known as the CLCPA, and the associated scoping plan and the school bus mandate. How are all these things tying in to Con Ed, and how Con Ed is adjusting rates? Because we've heard a lot of blame placed on the CLCPA, and we don't believe that it is actually true. We think that it's a sort of a ruse. So we want to make sure that we understand, and these are some of the issues that we brought up in the rate case, to understand how it is either by legislation that we can also help to reduce rates, or that we can actually hold Con Ed's feet to the fire in the case of rates, and the PSCs to do their job. So those are just a couple of examples. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Lori Wheelock. We heard again from my colleagues a little bit more about what she's going to be doing, and we have Jackie on too, and she'll be introducing, and we'll get into the meat of our presentation this evening, which again aims to help all of you participants to fully and effectively make your case in the rate case process. And we appreciate you doing that, because it only strengthens our ability to be successful as interveners. So with that, I will turn it over to Pulp and to Lori. And Lori, I'm sure you will introduce Jackie.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much. There are so many friendly faces on tonight. And so to start, thank you, Assembly Members Burdick, Levenberg, and Shimsky, County Executive Ken Jenkins. We see some Westchester County Board of Legislators on the call, as well as, I believe, State Senator Shelley Mayer. And if anyone I've missed, please know it's one probably because the group list is so large right now, and that's very, very exciting. I am Lori Wheelock. I go by she, her pronouns, and I'm the Executive Director and Counsel of the Public Utility Law Project. And Jackie, who's here with me tonight, we're going to give a presentation. Please know these slides will be going right over to the members' offices and going out on the email listserv tonight so that you can have them. You can share them with your friends and neighbors, and Jackie's going to bring them up in a second. But honestly, at the end of the day, what we hope you get away from tonight's presentation is a sense of empowerment and comfort in what this process looks like and the different ways that you can make your voices heard. And so we're very excited. This is a newer presentation for Pulp, and we are just thrilled to be here. So with that said, thank you so much. I'm going to hand it over to Jackie, and we're going to get this started right now.
Thank you, Lori, and thank you, everyone. Just to start off, thank you all for being here, for your time and your attention. Being part of Pulp, we often get our questions of what is Con Edison asking for? So today we're going to teach you how to use your voice into these rate cases and use that voice for power, and how to participate in these rate cases. So 1 second here, a little bit of technical difficulty. All right, so what are we going to be talking about today? Who are we? Who's Pulp? We are the Public Utility Law Project. Understanding what rate cases are. This is a very complex and very complicated legal proceeding that goes on in New York State. And I know before I started at Pulp, I didn't know what a rate case was. This is something that is, I like to say, the biggest secret of New York State, because it's a very complicated process and not a lot of people know about it. And you are allowed to participate and share your voice. We're also going to go over what is Con Edison's proposal. What are they really asking for in this rate case? Why is it that is so important that we know what is it that Con Edison is asking for? And why is it that we need you to step up and share your voice and speak up as to what have you been experiencing as customers of Con Edison, and how you can prepare to share your stories. So who are we? I'm so sorry. We're Pulp. Like the orange juice Pulp. We are New York's only independent nonprofit law firm. I always like to say we are like mediators. We help our low-income utility customers navigate this very complicated world. A lot of times our customers come to us for assistance in anything ranging from payment agreements, disputing bill charges, understanding their bills, just simply understanding what is this charge on my bill, and what is a utility. Utility services are electricity, natural gas, water, internet, cable, and phone services. So with Con Edison, we're talking about electric, natural gas, and steam. In 2024, we participated in 8 rate cases. It's a lot of work. Lori, our executive director, has much experience in this and can tell you firsthand how complicated they are and how much work goes into this. And I want to really elevate how powerful this environment is. We were participating in 6 energy rate cases and 2 water rate cases. And outside of this work of rate cases, we do our advocacy with our customers, but we also offer trainings like these. Public trainings that cover what are your rights, how to participate in rate cases, is also training the trainers. This is where we help nonprofits throughout New York State prepare and be ready to help utility customers. Pulp works in all of New York State. We're a small but mighty team of 13 staff members. So we definitely like to share our knowledge and helping other nonprofits know how to handle these complicated situations that customers go through. To start off, we're going to go over some terms that are important to know. Let's see here. There's something. I'm so sorry. Seems like I'm not in full presentation mode. Oh. Apologies. I'm not too sure what's going on. Please let me know if there's any issues with the view. But some important terms to know. Starting off is the Public Service Commission. Who is the PSC or the commission? This is a 7-member body responsible for ensuring that rates are reasonable and that the utility companies are providing safe and reliable service. These commissioners vote at the end of a rate case and issue what is called an order. An order is the final decision that Public Service Commission basically approves, modifies, or denies what that utility company has proposed for the rates. At the beginning of a rate case, the utility company offers a proposal, what they're asking for during the rate case. A lot of negotiation happens, and at the end of it, those 7 commissioners will decide if they will approve it, deny it, or modify it. A lot of work goes into it, and who's actually in charge of the rate cases is the Department of Public Service, the worker bees. This is a staff wing within the commission, and they are the party of the rate case that is involved in the settlements and in the negotiations. Ultimately, the Department of Public Service will come up with a joint proposal. This basically represents everything that went into those settlements, into that negotiation amongst all interveners. So we at Pulp, our assembly members, our senators, and everyone involved during these rate cases will negotiate and come up with a joint proposal. When the Public Service Commission votes on this order, that will be the final order, and that is what will solidify what that company has to do. And what does that affect? It affects our rates. We have to define what rates we're talking about because we have 2 different types of rates. We have supply rates and delivery rates. Supply rates is the purchase of energy that company does in the open market. So this is not regulated by the Public Service Commission because it's being purchased and is being directly passed on to the customers. No profit is really being made here. This is just a charge simply from purchasing that energy, and the customer will pay for it. When we're talking about rates, we're talking about delivery rates because this is what the company charges you for being a customer. So Con Edison's delivery rates are being negotiated currently to ultimately decide how they will be changed. These are the rates that are regulated by the Public Service Commissions and are set in these rate cases. We are going to look at an actual sample bill so we could see what those delivery rates look like for Con Edison. We have the supply rates on the left side. This is the cost of energy that is being passed directly onto our customers. And then we have the delivery charges. These delivery charges include your basic service charge, which we see here in this sample bill is $18.77. That is what you're charged for simply being a customer, for simply having a open account. The reason why I say it like this is because if you use no energy for any months, right? A lot of people go away for the summertime and their homes are empty, things are turned down, and they still get a bill. And many people ask us, but why? I'm not using any energy. Why should I get a bill? Well, you have your basic service charge. As long as you have an open account, you will be charged at $18.77 per month. And that applies to not just the electrical side, but your gas side as well. As we see on the bottom, the gas side of your bill also has a basic service charge that is separate from your electric side. In this bill, it's $27.84. So in these rate cases, what we're talking about is that basic service charge. What is a rate case? A rate case is a formal process. It's a legal proceeding with the Public Service Commission to change those delivery rates. It's changing what you will be paying as a customer. Why is this so important? Because they determine what you're going to pay for your electricity, gas, and any other utilities that might be changed with this rate case. They influence also how customer programs are funded. When we're talking about programs such as that are funded by the utility company, that is discussed during these rate cases, as well as infrastructure. I know Assemblymember Dana Levenberg just mentioned the CLCPA. That is a big topic in these rate cases because climate resilience is part of these rate case proceedings, and also customer service. How you interact with your utility company is a big topic and something really important to us. Who participates in these rate cases? We have the utility company, Con Edison. We have DPS, the Department of Public Service, who is a wing within the Public Service Commission. They are who review the case, make recommendations, and kind of guide this proceeding. We also have parties from all across of Con Ed's service territory. We have us, Pulp, other nonprofits and community-based organizations, elected officials, and unions. And we also have the public. The public can get involved in public testimonies, and it could be anyone from individuals and organizations as well. The actual rate case process usually takes about 11 months. It starts out with the utility company submitting a proposal with public participation, where we have hearings, written comments, and other ways to participate. And then we also have the settlement negotiations, which is the bulk of the rate case. This is where we go into the nitty-gritty, talking about all the aspects of that company, the infrastructure, climate resilience, operations, customer service, to just finally come up with a joint proposal. Once a joint proposal is created, it has to be voted on by the Public Service Commission to create an order and to finally establish the final product of this rate case. We're currently in month 5 of the rate case, and we're going into settlement, so we still have a little bit of ways to go and a lot of work to do. And at this point, I'm going to pass it over to Lori, our expert in rate cases, to talk about what is actually going on in the Con Ed rate case.
Well, thank you so much, Jacqueline. And for the viewers, this is where we're going to dive in a little bit deeper to what Con Ed is asking for. And know that, again, you're going to get these slides everywhere where you see the light blue font and color. If you click on that, those are live links that will take you to different websites for more information. And so typically the rate cases actually begin when the utility company files. They can't change those delivery rates, which is that one side of the bill that Jacqueline walked us through a little while ago, without going through this process. And so this is exactly what Con Edison did. Back on January 31st, 2025, they actually filed with the Public Service Commission and the Department of Public Service requesting increases on the electric and gas side of the company. And these numbers at the bottom, you'll see 25E0072. That is the electric case. So the way these cases get numbered, they always take the last 2 digits of the year, and then the E is the electric, as well as the following number, and then they have a G for the gas underneath. When you click them, you'll end up going to a website that looks like that bottom right-hand corner picture. It'll give you access to all the documents that have been filed in the rate case to date. Moving on to the next slide. What did Con Ed ask for? So back in January, they proposed a one-year rate plan seeking to increase their electric delivery revenues by about 1.6 billion, and on the gas delivery revenue side, about 440 million. When you go into the documents on the Department of Public Service website, you're going to see their initial filing from January is over 20 documents. And you can actually click on each different document, which represents different topics, to really break down what they're asking for. One of the big things we're always looking for are what the bill impacts are. What are those projected impacts on that delivery side that might actually, end up resulting in dollars for customers moving forward? For Westchester customers, the projection from Con Edison back in January was for the average user, it could be about $20 more a month on the electric side. And for the gas side, it was more around $46 more on the gas side of the bill. So that was the initial bill impact that they projected. They then again had to explain what they wanted to do with these funds. And they put everything in there from more in operating expenses, property taxes, infrastructure investments. For instance, they're looking to put in 6 different substations. And as Jacqueline mentioned, the rate cases do everything from the number of employees to the way the bills are being generated and different costs in that manner. So you can again go into the rate case and dive a little bit deeper to see all these different costs and what the company's argument is for why they're asking for this much more on the delivery side of the Con Ed bill. Going to the next page, the timing again is really important. So as Jackie mentioned, these rate cases can be 11 months long. They often get extended beyond that. And so right now we're around the end of month 5 going into month 6. And so we're about halfway through. And at the end, again, there is going to be some sort of order, most likely for multiple years. So while Con Edison made this offer, filed this case looking to increase their delivery revenues and charge more customers, the hope is that the rate plan will actually be spread out over multiple years. What's important to know about that, though, is that the public needs to brace for that. And we strongly encourage and hope that whatever happens, that Con Edison helps communicate with the public when those increases are. Right now, we just finished a 3-year rate plan. And so every January, delivery increases were felt on Con Edison customers from that 3-year rate plan. And so that's very common. There could be some sort of settlement where rates will be increased again every January, which is winter time. Those are costs from the heating season that we want the public to be aware of. So that is typically the timeline of the rate case. It's a very long process. And again, we're about halfway through. Going on to the next slide, how to get involved. And here are some photos from real actions that occurred. And again, that bottom right picture is the screen of the Department of Public Services website where the public can submit comments day, night, weekends to actually share their thoughts on the Con Ed rate case. And moving to the next slide. Here are all the different ways to get involved. Earlier, Jackie talked about parties. Parties is a specific type of status. Pulp is a party, for instance. We actually had to apply and get added to a party list. We then have a status. We have a seat at the negotiating table. We were allowed to file testimony. We are allowed to negotiate. And once we go into settlement, which has been noticed by the company publicly, there will be confidential meetings. And so what happens in those confidential meetings, again, is something that a party can work through, working towards a joint proposal that will be the outcome of the case and later the order. And so we have certain rights as a party that we like to flag for the public. Individuals can become parties, nonprofits can be parties. And so again, Pulp has this status of a party, and it gives us that seat at the table to really get into the rate case, be a part of the rate case, and have an ability to touch and actually result in impacts through the rate case process itself. Not everyone has to become a party, and so that's very, very important. There is many different ways the public can participate in the rate case without becoming a party. And so what do those look like? Well, written comment is always accepted and strongly recommended. You can do this by going online, and we again include the website, and we explain where to find the case and actually to upload documents. You can also go, the old school way. You can submit a letter. You can actually mail comments to the Public Service Commission on the case. Another thing that's really helpful is that they can take comments through the commission's opinion line, which is a 1-800 number where you can call and verbally provide your comment. Another thing that we've seen the public do in some of the rate cases is letters to the editor. If there is a local newspaper or even a larger one, for instance, the Times-Union, you can write in and share how you feel about the rate case. But probably one of the most powerful and public ways to get involved are the statement hearings. Each rate case has the ability for the public to actually present, to quote unquote testify and share their comments before a panel that includes administrative law judges who actually are representatives in the case, as well as potentially commissioners. Many times the public service commissioners will come and sit and participate and listen. And often the company has representatives there too. And so we're going to talk a lot about those public statement hearings tonight because we're really excited they're coming to Westchester next week. And so going to the next slide. We had virtual public statement hearings in April, which was another great opportunity for the public to get involved. And so those were very similar to what's going to be happening next week, except the forum was virtual. Next week, there is actually going to be a total of 4 hearings happening in Westchester County. So there'll be 2 dates, so next Tuesday and then next Wednesday, and there'll be a hearing at 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. And so we have them at the Cortland Town Hall and the Westchester County Center. And so again, want to make sure this part is really, really clear. So on Tuesday, there'll be a hearing at 1 p.m. and then another one at 6 p.m. And then Wednesday at Westchester County Center, there'll also be a hearing at 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. There's no limit on how many times you can go. If, for instance, you want to maybe go to the 1 p.m., but maybe you want to testify at 6, or maybe you want to go the next day just to observe, you can absolutely do that. And so they are open to the public. And again, we strongly encourage, please share this with friends, family members, coworkers to get this information out there. Going to the next slide, why should I participate? At the end of the day, your voice really does matter. The Public Service Commission, and again, I've been in many, many rate cases in my career. I have sat in the room when the commissioners have voted on these rate cases, and many of them have talked about how they've attended these hearings and they've read the public comments. And so the comments are extremely important. And it is your opportunity to speak to service. It's not just about the rates, but honestly, what is your experience as a Con Ed customer? What is the good? What is maybe where they need the improvement? How long are the call, wait times? How is your experience using that portal online? Can you make payments? Do you struggle to get accurate bills, or do you have concerns about your bills? Outages, billing errors, difficulties potentially with customer service, or again, positives of working with Con Edison. You get to shape that message and it goes into the record of the rate case and it is considered. There's also power in numbers. Strong public turnout honestly helps, again, the process, the company, other parties, hear what the experiences are on the ground. And this is one of the really, again, powerful parts of the rate case is while the company is filing for this rate increase, they have to, again, explain why they think this rate increase is just and reasonable. And having the public weigh in on that standard is truly, truly important. And it gives you, again, this advocacy piece. You are the one who is a customer. You are the one that can explain how your household is going to manage these costs. And again, how you see your future as an electric and gas potential customer with Con Edison. And so good, bad stories, experience, all of that, I think is really helpful in having the state understand what it's like to be in your shoes. Moving to the next slide. How do I prepare? We get this question a lot, and Jackie and I have testified at a lot of different hearings in our day. And honestly, the first thing we say is learn as much as you can. And all of you on tonight, you're doing that right now, coming in, learning about what the company is asking, and then you can dive in deeper and actually see what is the company projecting to do in customer service? What are they looking to do when it comes to infrastructure and build outs? And so this first bullet point will take you to the whole rate case document, and you can search and pull up the different filings. You can see what Pulp testified as before, what our positions are, what are our concerns, or again, the things that we think are important that we're advocating for. Con Edison also has a very helpful cover letter. They submitted a cover letter when they filed their rate request back in January, and it's a nice summary of all the different kind of rate drivers, the reasons they're making this filing and what they want to do with potential rate increases. And so that's important to look at. And then the Department of Public Service also has a summary of the rate case. And so this is thanks to a law by Assemblymember Barrett and Senator Comrie that has the state providing some documents that summarize the filings. In all honesty, the filings that the company presented back in January are sometimes hundreds of pages long each and can be thousands of pages together. And that is good because it's access to information, but it can be a lot. So starting with these summary documents and taking a look is something that Jacqueline and I always recommend for the public in trying to understand more about what Con Edison is requesting. So dues, and this is a list even Jacqueline and I use when we're getting ready to participate and provide public testimony, is trying to prepare ahead of time. Look again at what the rate case is offering. Think about the different ways it affects you. And then I often recommend bulleting them out. You know, some people will write out their whole presentation, and that's perfect. That's great. Other people feel more comfortable with bullet points that say, I am a customer. I've been a customer for this long. These are my thoughts on the rate case. It's the cost, potentially the quality of the service now, and what maybe you need to see more of as a customer. What are the environmental factors? What maybe is the community impact that you perceive? If you feel comfortable, you can share personal stories and experiences. What is, again, that real life perspective being a Con Ed customer? You know, taking your time, deep breaths, speaking clearly and confidently. You will actually get to present, and whatever you say in that public hearing will actually go into a transcript and become part of the record. And thanking the commission for coming, I think, is a good way to also start that presentation. Thanking them for coming to listen, for taking that comment and putting it into the record is something that we also do here at Pulp. Going to the next slide. Some of our other recommendations are, you know, remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. You may say, you may stop, you may get nervous. It is okay. Remember that your voice matters and you're there in that moment to share your thoughts, and that is extremely important. Sometimes we see people go maybe off topic, and so that's where sometimes having those notes listed out can be really helpful. It just helps you in that moment feel confident in your shoes, standing there, giving out that testimony. Also, just to flag, the commissioners, the administrative law judges who will actually be there to listen to the testimony, it won't be a question and answer. So we don't want you to expect a back and forth or engagement. The great thing is they're there to listen and to take, again, your stories and put that into the record. And so always like to flag that for people for, you know, experience, expectations. If you want, you can definitely lay out questions, concerns you may have, but don't expect maybe an exchange with the administrative law judges or any of the commissioners there to listen. It can get very emotional, and we have seen this, and so trying to stay calm, even in times where maybe you're frustrated or upset. And, you know, often Pulp staff will also be in the room, and, you know, we'll often go up to people if we sense maybe people are nervous. But again, just trying to remain calm and focused. And if at the end of the day you sign up and you're like, you know what? I don't know. I'm really nervous. You can hold off on signing up to speak. You can go up later. Again, there will be multiple opportunities. And so we want you to go in, feel that confidence. You can listen for a bit, but at the end of the day, again, having you on the record, if you feel like you can do it, will be very valuable to the process itself. So things to know if you're going to go to one of the hearings. It's good to go at least 15 minutes before it starts. You may have to find the location. There's no advanced registration for the virtual. We did have to sign up ahead of time. You could sign up later, but usually you'd be lower or further back in the wait list. Here, there's no advanced registration, but they will have cards. And so typically what happens is the Department of Public Service will have a table outside the hearing room, and you can walk right up. You can sign up. They'll have little note cards if you want to speak. If you're an elected official, if you're a party or you're a representative, typically they'll also take down that information. Depending on how many people are actually signed up to speak, your time may vary, and that's something just to be aware of. We do notice if there's a lot of interest and multiple speakers, they may ask the public to keep comments to about 3 minutes. And so typically Jacqueline and I, when we prep, try to keep that 3 minutes in mind, and that way you don't get caught off guard when maybe your speech was more like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then you're told because there's so many people to keep it short and at 3. So just know that there may be a time limit, but you can always supplement. And so one, after you speak, if you have something written out, you can also hand that right to the transcriber, the stenographer who is on site, or you can actually email it to the commission later. And again, through the slides a couple before, there's ways to submit further comments in writing and on phone. So just know, no matter what happens, you can also supplement later if you forget something or you want to add something later. Pulp has also recently released a guide. It's very similar to Knight's presentation with recommendations on how to prep and where to go look for information. And so the here, language at the bottom, if you click that, it'll go to a guide where we offer advice and how to prep and get ready to actually go up there and stand in front of the microphone and testify to the administrative law judges, the commissioners, and everyone in the room about your story. Going to the next slide. In the end, why? The why of participation really again comes down to your voice and your power. The rate case process can be long, it can be very technical, but at the end of the day, having real life stories and real people who are customers share those stories is extremely valuable. And again, there's multiple ways to participate. You can do it in writing, you could do it right tonight after the presentation, you can do it verbally next week, and again, there'll be opportunities leading up to the end of the rate case. The more that we can advocate together, again, I think is really powerful. And at the end of the day, any sort of sharing of your story and your experiences, good, bad, in between, will help put real life fingerprints on the rate case itself, which is extremely powerful and extremely valuable. So again, thank you so much to having us here tonight. Jacqueline and I are happy to answer questions, be it on the process or if there's any utility related questions, we're happy to do that too. We typically though for Q&A recommend, pausing recording just so there's comfort and we can have discussion, but I leave that to